Hi everyone. Let's take a look at windows as part of your building envelope. Backing up a little bit, remember that the building envelope is the shell or enclosure of the interior conditioned space of your home, and we're concerned about controlling the flow of heat through that envelope. Why are we concerned about windows? Windows are, and let's take a look over here, only 8% of the total envelope or enclosure of our house, but up to 45% of the heat transfer from interior to outerior. And why are we concerned about windows specifically? Let's take a look at this statistic here. Windows are only 8% of the building envelope area, right? But up to 45% of the heat transfer between interior and exterior can go through those windows, right? So it's very important to take a close look at them. And here we have a quote expressing the same sentiment in words rather than numbers. It says that windows have a significant impact on energy use and heating and cooling loads in a home. Now I'm going to pause so that you can read this for yourself. In addition to this heat gain or loss through the windows, all right, which adds to the heating and cooling load of a building, windows have a large impact on the thermal comfort of the people inside your home because of their effect on the mean radiant temperature. Now we're going to learn more about that in later in this course. But just remember the last time that you were seated next to a window on a cold, cold night, and you could just feel that window sucking the heat away from your skin. That's what we're talking about with mean radiant temperature and windows. So let's get more specific about window performance. There's 4 specific criteria that you need to look at. And each of these are going to be labeled on all window products in the US with this NFRC label, National Fenestration Rating Council. Fenestration is the fancy word for windows, by the way. All right, so here is a sample label. You can see that it's got the what is this? The logo here, and then we've got some information about the manufacturer and the specific window details. And then we've got these 4 ratings, and they are going to be listed 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 performance ratings. Okay. The first criteria we're going to look at is U factor. U factor is going to measure the heat flow through this assembly, through this window product. All right, the lower the better, and that range is roughly from 0.2 to 1.2. All right, so we've got a U factor right here of 0.3 on this particular window. Now, you might be thinking, what about R value? We just learned that R value it relates to the heat transfer through a material. It turns out that R value is specific to an individual material, whereas a window is an assembly of multiple different materials. We've got glass, we've got frame, we've got different components, all right? So the U value is a calculation of heat transfer through that total construction of the window and its different components, right? And mathematically, if you're using them in formulas, they are inverse of each other. So the U equals 1 over R, the R equals 1 over U, they're inverse. The second performance criteria we're going to look at is called solar heat gain coefficient. It measures how well that window can resist unwanted heat gain, right? And the U factor was all about heat conduction. The solar heat gain coefficient is about heat gain through radiation, so different types of heat. The range of this solar heat gain coefficient is from 0 to 1, and we're looking for lower numbers. All right, the lower the better. This next criteria doesn't have anything to do with heat, right? It is visible transmittance, and it measures how well the light comes through the window, right? And this is really important when you start adding different films and different products to reduce the heat gain through that glass. You want to make sure that you can still see through it and that light still comes through. Right? The range is from 0 to 1, and in this case you want high because we actually want the visible light to come in. Our final window criteria is air leakage. Remember that one of those components of heat gain or loss through a building envelope was drafts and air movement. All right, so we want a nice tight window with fewer drafts. It's required that this be less than 0.3, and you want to look for the lower numbers better. All right, my friends, we've just looked at windows as components of your building envelope and the 4 different performance criteria in which to measure them. Thanks.